I noticed you have this hashtag called OneUp, and I know you've been posting about that recently. So why don't you give us an overview of the kind of summary of what OneUp is, and then we'll go with some
Sure,
more questions.
for sure. So the elevator speech, if you will,
Hmm.
OneUp is basically a program that helps provide tools for individuals who are in any form of position, usually high stress environments, but it could be really anything. And it just gives them the tools, a format, if you will, to take the next step in a mindful and a meaningful way.
Hmm.
Think of it as, you hear this all the time, like leveling up or 10x or 5x or whatever it is. One up is just more of a practical level.
Hmm.
Also, mindfulness is being thrown around a lot. So, you want to make things more practical. So I feel one up is just more a practical, very easy to use
I'm
program.
a pretty practical, simple word guy, Yermi. So my understanding of One Up is, yes, it came from a lot of practical experience that you learned in the both at university and in the real world doing a job in a correctional facility. So I also understand that it's broken down into 90 mini steps, right?
Right.
So so do you want to kind of talk about those 90 steps might seem overwhelming for some people, but do you want
Sure.
to talk about
Mhm.
how you go about that?
Sure. So again, like when I joined the prison system,
Hmm.
the way I really was introduced to it was I went through a trauma about 10 years ago now, 2010, and my way of getting over the trauma was to just volunteer my time, community service, give back.
Hmm.
It's part of a recovery system,
Hmm.
which my therapist at the time was suggesting I do. And when I went into the prison system, really just to kind of get perspective or whatever it was, little did I know it turned into a full-time job. It turned into what it turned into. And I was journaling a lot through conversations and through people I was meeting, through experiences that I was experiencing through, all that. And and then it sort of occurred to me that, and then that's also through learning the psychology. I've learned a lot about AA. I've learned a lot about those kind of recovery things. And AA has 12 steps that they
Hmm.
do, but they do the 12 steps in something called 90 and 90. And I was
Hmm.
researching a lot about what is this 90 and 90. And there are many therapists who say that 90 days a person can transform completely. Happened to be that my rabbi, my mentor at the time, suggested the exact same thing. And he says it's a Kabbalistic thing. So I
Hmm.
started researching that. One thing led to another, and I got introduced to Tao Tai Ching, and I got introduced to a lot of different spiritual teachings, if you will.
Hmm.
And my question was always, how do I make this practical? And all these are really nice. And I'm a very practical, down to earth kind of guy. I'm not those voodoo, monkey kind of guys.
Hmm.
Um, and as I experience and as I research and as I developed more understanding, I started connecting these spiritual lessons with the psychology that I was studying at the time. And I was testing it in the prison system. That's where my job was at the time, and the transformation was insane. It was crazy. I saw huge levels of success. People who were
Wow.
coming in completely disgusting people. I mean, you could only imagine who was in prison. Were leaving. Some of them were being released as completely transformed people. Um, one in particular is today an executive in a business in a company.
Hmm.
I get calls from a second inmate who his boss calls me up all the time and tells me, "This is my favorite guy who's working here." And he only talks about you. What did you do? Um,
Hmm.
and it's really the steps of the 90 steps. And yes, 90, the number 90 sounds a lot, and it sounds, you know, overwhelming in a sense.
Hmm.
But what I did is that I broke them down into really, really small, short, bite-sized um, steps. So
Hmm.
at first I wrote the book, 90 Days, One Up is the name of the book, 90 Day to Successful Living. And each step is really only 1 page long. So it's a little synopsis of what each step means, and then a little meditation on how to apply the step in your life. Then people were starting to ask questions, and then that's how the course One Up developed, which is a 90-day course. And that's how that sort of became what I was doing in prison, and then doing it in my personal life, which has completely transformed 360. And now I'm applying it to businesses.
Right. And yeah, like you, Jeremy, I've had a lot of hands-on experience. And when you figure out, well, how do I condense that down into something? And mine became the simpler, faster, better. You know, how do you take 40 years of all that knowledge and some failures, a lot of success, and how do you condense it down? Well, mine was the simpler, faster, better. So